Welcome to Unlearning, where we go behind the curtain for an insider's perspective on the theater industry, break down the buzzworthy conversations on social media, and challenge the stigmas that hold us back. I'm Veronica Stern, and together we're unlearning and redefining what it means to thrive in the business. Now it's time to rewrite the script. Hello, wonderful people of the world, and welcome to the Unlearning podcast. Today, my guest is an old friend, Erich W. Schleck. They have such an interesting and exciting journey of theatrical work, but also some very interesting and non-traditional work as well. I'm very excited for you all to hear our conversation today because I think that you are all gonna really enjoy it. We also get into some hot topics that are going on in the world of the internet, including Patti LuPone's Crash Out. If you enjoy this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, rate, review. And without further ado, let's get into it with Erich. Erich.
Hey.
Welcome to Unlearning.
Thanks for having me. What a joy.
It's so lovely to have you here.
I'm so happy to see you.
I'm always so happy to see you.
It's always a treat.
It's just always such a treat. For those that don't know, Erich and I went to the CCM
we
together.
Sure did. Go Bearcats.
Go Bearcats. And to say it was a wild experience would be an understatement.
An understatement of the highest degree. Yeah.
I've spoken about it a little bit here, and it's not necessarily what I want to talk to you about today,
Sure.
but it's our history.
Yeah.
It's our history together.
It's our history together, yeah.
And you made it out right under the nose of the pandemic.
Sure did.
But that's not why I brought you here today.
Thank God.
I brought you here today because of what you have accomplished so far after school, because it's super interesting, and I just cannot wait to get into all of it with you today. I think that everyone listening is going to be really excited and interested to hear about your journey.
That's so
far in the business.
Thank you.
But before we get into that, let's talk about a little article that's making waves on the socials of media. Even though you're not on TikTok anymore,
I'm not on TikTok, no.
The article is called what is the article called? Patti LuPone is done with Broadway and almost everything else.
Well, yes.
This is an article that was published in the New Yorker, I think Tuesday.
Yeah, a couple days ago.
It's written by the journalist Michael Schulman, and I mean, it's in the name. Patti LuPone is done with Broadway.
Yeah.
And I think Broadway is done with Patti LuPone.
Look, Miss LuPone has retired from Broadway, it feels like 100 times, especially in the last couple years.
In the last 4.5 years, she has given up her equity card.
Sure did.
Has been done with Broadway.
Done with musicals.
Yeah. Then came back to do a play.
A musical.
Oh, wait, company.
Yeah, she came back and did a musical.
She did a musical and then did a play and is now officially done.
Yeah, she said that Marvel money was fierce. I don't have to do this anymore.
But the article, I mean, if you're watching this, you probably know what the article said and what it talked about and everything. Yeah. We're living in the aftermath currently.
Sure are.
It is going crazy on social media. People are on the defense for all of the women mentioned in the article, as they should be.
As they should be.
But I want to hear your thoughts, and I thought maybe we could just break it down for everybody that maybe is... I haven't seen anybody that's defending Patti,
no.
But I also think it's an interesting story of when hurt people. And
wow.
Not that this is any excuse, or I'm not making excuse for Patti LuPone, believe me. But I think that if you read the article, she's a deeply traumatized person from all she dealt with in the industry. And I think it's interesting kind of to take that all into account, into how she presents herself and why she's always on the defense.
Well, and in reading the article too, and watching interviews even recently, her Actors on Actors, where she talked again about Hell's Kitchen being too loud, which is so insane.
And she did that unprompted, by the way.
Unprompted. Like
George Clooney did not ask.
No, not in the slightest. The thing, I've read her book, and when people tell you who they are, you really do need to believe them. Is everything that she went through justifiable? No. But I think back about the Sunset Boulevard stories, and she proudly exclaims in her memoir that she went into her dressing room after getting fired from Sunset and like destroyed it. Like violently like was smashing lamps and things like that. And that's like, look, I get it. Like bad things have happened to me too, but we don't react with violence like that. So this woman has acted like this the whole time.
Yes, and what's weird, I guess weird is not the right word for it. I guess the curious thing about this is that it's been kind of masked as this like, yes, diva, she is the queen of the divas. Yes, like do it, girl. Like scream at that woman in the audience.
Like,
and it's
sure.
So did we all just like, did the new generation of people like wake up and they're like, actually, no, like we're done. Like we're actually done this time. Because this feels like we're done this time.
And it always does. Like in the world of the internet, like everything happens so quickly. I think the bigger conversation here is we're talking about exactly what you mentioned, which is unprompted. Like bringing some of these things up unprompted.
Yeah.
Like what is your real agenda? What are you really trying to communicate here? Like Audra and Keisha stay winning. Like, I mean, like Keisha Lewis posting that incredible video of her unboxing her Grammy Award. Like these other women's accomplishments do not diminish the things that Patti has done. And I don't understand like why she is approaching them as though they have.
Yeah.
And it goes without saying, she chose 2 Black women to go after who are huge names in our industry.
Yeah.
And that's not an accident.
And I want to also say this, in the article, they talk about the loudness of the Hell's Kitchen, right? And then she, word of the day, unprompted, she just is like, by the way, she posted this video. Who is she to say anything? Because she only has 11 shows under her belt,
Broadway
and
shows.
I have 31. As if like the number of shows equates your relevancy / your what's the word I'm looking for? Your like
your accomplishments, your relevancy, your trajectory.
Yeah.
Like
it's
Broadway,
such an old way of thinking.
It is. And we've said this before. I remember one of our professors in school said this. Broadway at the end of the day is like 38 jobs. And there are so many other jobs. Like we'll get into it later, of course, but there are so many other artistic opportunities that like looking at everything through the narrow lens of Broadway and what that means and as a marker of success is outdated.
Totally outdated. And I think the thing that bothered me the most about the article is it's one thing to feel a certain type of way about somebody that calls you out, but I think what Patti maybe hasn't done, or, I don't think she cares really,
No, she doesn't.
is, girl, if you got embarrassed by the thing, it's better to just say, yeah, that was kind of an embarrassing thing that happened to me, and I'm kind of like not that thrilled about it, but I don't know if I would have called the person bitch.
No, I'm not sure that I would have done that either.
I don't think I would have. And that also brings up something that I wrote down in my notes. I want to emphasize this about shows that you may not like. You can dislike shows. Yeah. That's not what anybody's problem is with this whole article. Like, okay, so she didn't love Audra McDonald in Gypsy. You can do that without bringing someone down.
Yeah.
You can say, it wasn't how I thought it was going to be. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be like. Because at the end of the day, art is so subjective.
Completely.
So it's like, for her to be like, what a beautiful day. It's just nasty. It's just so nasty.
And it's so tired. Like,
so
we don't act like that anymore. Like, it just isn't worth it. Like,
and she hasn't made any public statements at the time of this recording.
At the time of this recording.
But I'm very curious if she'll say anything. And do you think she should?
I mean, girl, the Tonys are around the corner. Like, I'm curious.
She's not nominated for anything.
She's not nominated. Mia is, her co-star.
But Patti LuPone is famously a Tony voter.
She is famously a Tony voter. It's all she's talked about besides Audra McDonald and Keisha Lewis recently.
So, one, it's like, that gives you a little bit of insight into the generation of people that vote.
Yeah.
And not that they're all like that, obviously, but it's, It's curious.
I mean, in my heart of hearts, really, girl, like, the damage is done. Like, the damage is
done. Is the damage done, though? Like, I don't know if this is going to affect Patti LuPone in the way that I think some people hope it will.
I mean, I'll give you that. Like, in the age of the internet, things come and go so quickly around here these days. But, you know, I don't think she's going to say anything. I don't think she's going to make a response about this.
Like, I will say it's no, where do I get this hat?
It's no, where do I get this hat? Which, let's be real, went away. Like, nobody's talking about that.
I will always remember that, though.
Oh, I'll never forget it. It was so crazy. All of my Halloween gigs this year, I was in Norma drag because it was like the thing that happened. Yes. And not a week later, that all went down. And I was like, I have to delete everything. I have to start over. I have to go. I was like, I have to leave.
Oh, I will say this. At the time of this recording, though, Audra McDonald did say something.
She did with Gayle King.
With Gayle King of all people.
Fierce.
And I would
Who's been in space.
Of course. So she has changed for the better.
She is.
But Audra said something, and I'm sorry that I'm not perfectly quoting it, but she was like, Gayle asked her, what happened to your friendship with Patti? And Audra's like, I haven't seen her in 11 years, so that's a question for her.
Yeah, you'll have to ask her.
Mic drop.
It's so brilliant.
Mic drop.
I'm going to start using that.
Back in her court.
I'm going to start using that.
I was
You're going to have to ask her.
You're going to have to ask her. You're going to have to ask
It's
her.
so good.
It's really
I mean, she
wonderful.
really is a class act. Like,
she's a class act.
And always has been.
Everybody that listens to this podcast knows I am riding for Nicole Scherzinger to win that Tony.
I mean,
but
I'll be shocked if she doesn't.
Now in the wake of this, I'm kind of like, I wonder if this
Anything
will
could happen.
Anything could
possible.
happen. Anything is possible. So all I have to say is, thank you, Patti LuPone, for spicing up. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You ate that, though. That was funny. That was good.
So, guys, that was our hot topic of the day.
That was our hot topic. That's a good one.
I'm so happy that
I kind of feel really fortunate that I landed on the Patti LuPone day. That's crazy.
Literally. It's not often these type of things happen in our world.
Well.
Thank you to The New Yorker.
Thank you to The New Yorker. Shout out. We're not sponsored.
But we could be.
We could be.
All right, let's get into your careers thus far.
Sure.
I'm so happy you're here, by the way.
I'm so happy to be here, really. Thank you so much for having me.
You're such a wonderful energy, and I've been excited about this for a while. But I want to start with graduating college.
Sure.
Which was like a graduating college question
Really?
mark?
Yeah.
Because your class was sort of like at the precipice of like showcase, and then everything shut down, but there was like this weird loophole because like for the first time in forever they like recorded it and they were like, put it on the internet. And so like your class was really, I if I'm remembering correctly, like one of the only musical theater classes in the world, you know, to be hyperbolic, that really had a chance for people to see you guys.
Yeah, it was bizarre, to say the very least. I remember at the time, as we were like revving up for showcase, we were doing Secret Garden, and I was the associate on it.
Yes.
The brilliant Connor Gallagher was in town, and I got to learn a lot from him. I was his associate, and I remember sitting in like the dark auditorium during tech, like at the end of February. And he was like, gosh, there's like 3 cases of that crazy virus in New York. That's really wild. Like, that's kind of spooky. And I was like, yeah, that's wild. And it wasn't like 2 weeks later, it was time for us to showcase. And, you know, our families had flown in to Cincinnati, and the whole thing was like, we were revving up to do it. And I remember one of our professors was like, we should probably just like film this just in case. Like, let's just put it on camera. Like, it'll just be good to have so the kids can use it later too. And so literally we like set up 3 cameras in the room that we were doing it in, and we filmed it. And that day was the last day I was in Cincinnati. Like, it was March 15th. We filmed it. As we were like starting it, they were telling us we couldn't let the parents in. We couldn't let people in the room. And it was so crazy. Most of the students, I think, watched it with masks on, like in another room somewhere, like on a live feed. It was so bizarre.
It was really weird.
And hilariously, we like had a little party because we were like, well, it's not here. And we were like, COVID's not here.
Wait, do you remember the party I had at my apartment?
Oh, yeah, of course. Vividly. Yeah.
Me and my roommate Cole, we were like famously, well, I'm still famously like a homebody.
Yeah.
We never did anything. We didn't go out. Well, I went out, but like I didn't do anything at my apartment.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, guys, like the world is ending. Like me and Cole were like, wait, what if we like
Would we
leave
have a party?
college without ever having a party at our apartment?
Yeah.
So we threw a rager.
Yeah, it was great.
It was a rager to me. At my apartment in Cincinnati on the last day of like being like normal.
Yeah.
It was so crazy.
I remember I like got in my parents' car the next morning and we thought we were going to be home for 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then we were going to come back. We were going to grab our stuff from Cincinnati and go and do the showcase in New York.
Because this is also, this was the time when you guys would do the showcase like super duper early and like not in like May and like the normal like
they were always fighting
time.
To have it be like one of the first ones.
Yeah.
So we were scheduled to do it like mid to late April in New York.
Right.
And by the time like April 1 rolled around, they were like, yeah, divas, so it's not happening.
Oh my God.
So they released it online.
Right.
And they sent it to all the people who had RSVP'd.
Right.
And they did it again a second time. And then we all got asked to submit our individual videos to like a Broadway World thing.
Like
and
one of the competitions.
It was like it was a showcase based article. The competition came later.
Okay.
But like all these other schools hadn't even gotten to making their showcase yet. At CCM, we did it super early. It was your whole senior year you were working on that showcase.
Right.
And, you know, I've always said showcase is one day of your life and then you get to live the rest of it. In a lot of ways, like, I'm bizarrely grateful years later that I didn't have that day. Because at the time, I don't know if I really was ready.
Interesting.
Like,
what part of you wasn't ready?
It was so... When we were like steamrolling into showcase, the showcase that had been crafted for me, like at the time, I guess it felt pseudo authentic to who I was, but it felt like broad strokes. Like in hindsight, it like really felt like broad strokes. Like I showcased kind of as like a comedic gay character actor, with one like heartfelt Billy Joel ballad. And like in hindsight, it was a little general and I don't think it had as many colors as I think I have now. And have had in my artistic career. But again, it was one day of my life that didn't really end up happening. And, you know, a lot of people from my class actually really did get a large response to their showcase right out the gate. It took a while for me, I think, because I mean, I showcased in 2020, and I think even COVID out of the question, I think the kind of work that I was pushing that I wanted to do was still a little niche in the commercial market. Like this kind of queer rock star thing wasn't, it hadn't yet had its moment other than the revival of Hedwig. You know what I mean?
What about Jamie?
Like Jamie had happened.
But it wasn't mainstream?
But it wasn't really mainstream.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, like a peer of ours had done it the year before for their showcase. And I brought it up to the team when we were doing it. And they were like, that's never coming to America, Diva. Like, no.
Ugh.
And I was like, got it. So in the commercial space, like we know Jamie, but I don't think the world knows Jamie in that way.
So you graduated and did you like when did you like get into the industry? And what I mean by that is like when we're in college, especially at like a high velocity school like CCM, we're actively doing things while we're there. But when did you book your first job where you're like, okay, I'm here?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was when I booked Blippi.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's get into Blippi.
So was Blippi, I love that soundbite that you just gave me.
Yeah, that's a good one, right? I can't wait to see that on TikTok.
You're the
well, I don't have TikTok, but
Instagram.
Right, I'll see it on Instagram Reels.
So Blippi. Yeah. Blippi came first, right?
Blippi came first, yeah.
For those that don't know what Blippi is, please tell the world.
So my first like real job out of school was this character Blippi. So Blippi was an intellectual property this guy created on YouTube originally. It's a children's entertainment show. It's a family entertainment show, and he created these episodes on YouTube. And it started before the pandemic, but it really picked up popularity during the pandemic when everyone was at home. And when COVID was kind of loosening, like vaccinations had happened and mask mandates were starting to kind of disappear, an opportunity kind of presented itself for a live version of Blippi to go out, kind of like when we were kids, the idea of like the High School Musical tour, or Sesame Street Live, or the Wiggles, like stuff like that.
And at this point in time, was Blippi on Nickelodeon yet?
It was like transitioning. Okay. So it was still independent, like
Miss Rachel vibes?
Yeah, very Miss Rachel vibes. I've met her too. She's amazing. And we were like kind of, as I joined the brand, it was all changing. So Steven, the original guy, was kind of stepping away, selling the brand to Nickelodeon's kind of subsidiaries like Moonstar and stuff like that. And there were two of us who kind of came in, Clayton Grimm, who plays him on the television show, and then I was one of the first guys to do it on stage.
Okay, I'm obsessed with this because knowing you, was this, and I know you're gonna say no, but like, was this something that you were ever like, maybe a character like this would be in my future?
No, not in the slightest.
And then when it came to you, what was your initial reaction?
What was hilarious about the whole thing was I was in callbacks at the time for the national tour of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Okay.
It was reopening post-COVID, and I was in for like a multi-role cover situation in Superstar. And the casting director of Superstar pulled me aside one day and was like, hey, I have this other thing that I'm working on. I think you'd be really great for it. Would you put some stuff on tape for me? And I was like, oh, I'm going to be on Superstar. Fierce. Like, this girl already likes me. Like, this is going to be great. She sends me the stuff and it's the Blippi sides. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, she's going to think that I'm awesome and like I'm doing this thing and da-da-da. So like doing the Blippi thing, and I get the call back for Blippi too, and I'm like, this is amazing. So I'm like in a dance call for Superstar, and then I'm in a dance call for Blippi, and I'm like dancing my ass off in the Blippi call because I'm like, I'm gonna be in Superstar. This is great. And we kind of get to the end of the process, and it was me and like three other guys at the end for Blippi.
Okay.
And they came out and they were like, hey, we're just waiting on one more person to come watch you. Like, can you chill out for a little bit? And I was like, yeah, totally, no big deal, whatever. And they brought two children into the room. And I like looked in the camera office style, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be Blippi. Like, I knew before I even went in. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be Blippi. And it wasn't a week later, they called and they were like, yeah, you're Blippi. And I was like, okay, like, I guess like this is meant for me at this moment.
Yeah.
Like, it was bizarre. Like, looking at me now, especially, like, I was like, okay, family entertainment, sure. But growing up, my parents always called me like the Pied Piper. Like, everybody always followed the sound of my voice, and I was always a natural leadership kind of energy.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is kind of essentially what the whole Blippi job was. Like, it was controlling a room of thousands of children.
Interesting.
And that was the greater challenge, rather than the singing and the dancing and the impression. And I mean, doing an impression of someone to their face and then going, what'd you think, was like the weirdest experience of my life.
And forgive me for not knowing more about Blippi, but I'm assuming that when you say controlling a room of thousands of kids, you mean like, hey kids, how are you? Like the call and response that is required of like children's theater.
Yes.
So did you have to go through like a Blippi boot camp?
I sure did. I sure did. Yeah. So when it all started, it was me and my wonderful friend Jack Supan. We were the two kind of original Blippis on that version of the show. And we were in it together. I remember standing in our hotel room together while we were like learning the show, and we would just do the voice at each other.
What's the Blippi voice?
Well, it was, I wonder if I can still do it. We were like, hey, like trying to match exactly what we heard in the videos. And yeah, it was like intensive. It was a week of just us, and then the dancers came in, and it was this whole other thing, and we learned all these numbers very quickly. And the first version of the show that I did, which was just called Blippi the Musical, was essentially a concert, but in between each song, there was this plot device of a party machine that we were trying to fix. So I would ask the kids questions, and they would respond back.
Like, and in the audience?
In the audience. Like, the whole room would respond back. And we did it in every room imaginable. I mean, I did it at places like the Eccles in Salt Lake and huge touring houses. And then we would do it in like a hockey arena in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota. And it was the same in every single city. Like, it was crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of kismet energy, like exchange of energy. And I remember one time like doing the show and being like, oh my God, like Vince DeGeorge was right. Like, it is just this.
Oh.
Like, it is just this. Even with children. And when you don't have it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's kind of what they were really looking for more than a song and dance man.
Of course.
I think they were looking for someone who could hold that energy. And that was the coolest part of the whole thing.
Now, Blippi brought you to parts of the world that people can only dream of going to. Yeah. When you signed on to Blippi the Musical, did you know that that was going to be the case? And if not, what happened when that came your way?
Yeah. So when I signed on to do Blippi the first time, it was a 7-month contract in the US and Canada.
Okay.
That was like what it was. And it wasn't like a more traditional like Broadway national tour that came later in my life, but we lived on a rock and roll tour bus. So it was the 7 of us. It was me, Jack, and the dancers who to this day are still some of my very best friends in the world.
You slept on the bus?
We slept on the bus. It was rock
like
and roll. Yeah.
Of like a bed.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Wow.
It was amazing. I'll have to show you a video later of what it looked like. Yeah. It was actually Kesha's old tour bus, like our actual tour bus.
Oh,
which I think is so crazy. Yeah. And so it had 3 sections. There was a lounge in the front that had like a kitchen and like couches and a TV and a fridge and then we had bunk alley in the middle where we all slept 3 in a row, like 3 on top of each other.
Were you
stacked.
The top bunk or the bottom bunk?
I was the top bunk because
like
the
all
bottom,
the way at the top?
Yeah, I was on the top one.
Wow.
The bottom, you were close to the wheels, so it was like louder.
Yeah.
But at the top, you moved around a little bit more. But I was like, I need to be like away from the sound.
And did you do that for 7 months?
I did it for 7 months. Yeah. And we did one-nighters the whole time. It was like a real rock and roll tour. Like it was more like
Bless your soul.
A music tour than it was a Broadway national tour.
Interesting.
And about 5 months into the run, I got a phone call from our producer that was like, hey, are you alone? And I was like, I can be. And I like ran outside and he was like, so look, we're being optioned to transfer the show to the West End. Are you in? And I said, no questions asked. I was like, yeah. Are you kidding? Like London's West End? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm there. Like,
and at the time, did they say it's going to be like a sit down thing or was that just assumed?
We knew that it was going to be a limited engagement of some sort.
Sure.
And like that was about it.
Wow.
And then by the time we kind of got to the end of the US run, it was set in stone that Blippi the Musical with our company was going to transfer in its entirety to the Apollo Theater on Shaftesbury Avenue in London's West End, which was like, never in a million years did I think that of all places, like that would be the place that I would go. And with this show,
sure,
like
sure.
Hilarious. And what's hilarious too is in that 1 month interim between when we closed the US tour and took it to London, I got a phone call from Jesus Christ Superstar, which was just like serendipitous in so many ways.
Sure.
We'll get back to Superstar later, but we transferred the show to London. We did the show in London for like the summer.
Uh-huh.
And when we closed in London, I came back to the States, and 3 days later, I was in rehearsal for Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh my goodness, Eric. Can we just stay in the West End for one more minute?
Please.
I want to know what is the biggest difference between the culture there and theater culture, and theater culture here in the States.
The biggest difference I noticed especially was in London, a lot of the commercial theater is subsidized monetarily by the government. So there is a willingness and an ability to take bigger risks and bigger swings than is sometimes afforded to Broadway, which has to often, especially recently, kind of rely on intellectual property that is highly recognizable.
Sure.
Or big movie star names in order to sell tickets. So in London, they're able to make these bigger artistic choices. And then if you make the money back, great, you keep the extra. And if you don't, well, the government already paid for it. So, there's less of a financial risk involved. And so even the theater that I saw in London that wasn't necessarily great or groundbreaking to me was still really impactful and interesting and something you wouldn't necessarily see in New York City every day. I mean, I think about London every day. Like, I miss it every day.
And you were there for how long?
We were there for like a month and some change. Like, we were there for like a summer, essentially.
Sure.
It was like summer vacation. Like, it was crazy. We were doing 3 shows a day. 3.
Are you kidding?
3 shows a day in the West End.
Oh my God.
And then what was great is the family entertainment performs in the morning. So it's not the same system as on Broadway. Like, family entertainment performs in the morning, and we were actually sharing the theater with a Olivier nominated play called Cruise, which performed at night. So then every night we like got to go see amazing theater.
Well, speaking of the Olivier Awards.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. Why didn't I start with this? This is Olivier Award nominated Erich Schleck.
That's very funny. Very funny.
Blippi was nominated for the Family Award.
It was
our family
so
show. Best family
wild.
show?
Yeah, we were nominated in the Best Family Entertainment category.
Okay.
Which was hilarious because it was actually like a new category our year.
Okay.
So, when I came back and was on the road with Superstar, I got word that we had been submitted as eligible. And I knew when we were there that someone from the Oliviers had come to the show. They saw it twice. Like, people from the Oliviers came and saw the show twice. And there was a category at the time called like Best Entertainment or Variety Play. And like the brilliant My Son's a Queer was nominated in that category, and like the Pantos were often nominated in that category, like Jack and the Beanstalk, and it was more like variety style things.
Sure.
And family entertainment was looped into that category at the time. So we were like, oh, this is hilarious. Like, whatever. Like, My Son's a Queer won that last year. Like, whatever. And I remember seeing the What's on Stage article come out about all of the eligible shows, and the categories had been separated. And I went to my company manager and I was like, so here's the thing. I think this might happen. I just had a feeling. I was like, I think this might happen. And if it does, I want to go. And he's like, if this happens, you're going. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So I remember we were in Detroit, Michigan.
With Jesus Christ Superstar.
And I was sitting like in my hotel room at 9 a.m. My poor sweet tour roommate was like asleep in the bed. I had my headphones in. And I'm watching the like announcement, and the second category is Best Family Entertainment, and the first nominee was Blippi the Musical, Apollo Theater. And I was like, not 30 seconds later, my phone rings. It's my company manager, and he's like, so here's your flight, and here's your da-da-da-da-da. I was like, oh my God! So the Olivier Awards was genuinely one of the greatest nights of my life.
What an incredible just like bonus to that whole experience.
Crazy.
So let's get into Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
Which in some ways in this story, it feels like the thing that was sort of the thing you were waiting for almost.
Yeah.
And the thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I think sometimes we accept jobs sometimes because you're like, I think this might lead to the thing that I really am wanting.
Oh yeah.
Is that what that was for you?
That justified a lot of the original acceptance of the Blippi contract. But when Superstar kind of presented itself to me the second time, I was like, oh, this is the thing that I waited for. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in the callbacks thinking like, I'm going to be that track, that like multi-role cover track.
Yep.
And my final callback, I like snuck a peek at the paperwork, and they had crossed off everything except Herod, and they'd circled it. And it was down to me and one other person who's actually a dear friend of mine who's a brilliant artist. And I remember being like, oh, it's going to him. Like, this is great. It's going to go to him, and I'm going to be his understudy. Like, great. Like, love it. And then I got the phone call that I was going to be Herod in the 50th anniversary national tour of Superstar. And I was like, what on earth is happening? Like, how did this happen? And it was the most challenging physically, mentally, and emotionally thing I've ever done in my life. Mm-hmm. And simultaneously was probably the most artistically fulfilling thing I'll ever do. Like,
ever?
I mean, anything is possible, but there is nothing like that Superstar. It's hard to explain. Mm-hmm. You'll find people like I'll be at an audition at Pearl Studios, and if I'm in my superstar jacket, there are people who will walk up to me and just start doing this.
What does that mean?
This like movement from the show, this movement language from the show.
Okay.
And anyone who's done this particular version of Superstar, like, we have an unspoken bond and language from what it demanded of our bodies.
Sure.
That it's hard often to describe, but it was really something.
How long were you on that tour?
I was on that tour for a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think I did 248 performances of Jesus Christ Superstar. Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Did you feel that your time on Blippi prepared you in some ways to be on the road for that long?
Yes, completely.
And do you feel that, are you happy that you did Blippi first?
Yeah, I believe in the divine timing of that for sure. And because Blippi similarly was so unique because in school I had an idea of what being on a national tour was, and Blippi was nothing like that. Like it was not in the slightest.
I'm curious to know what your idea of it was.
I thought it was, you got on an airplane and you sat down and you stayed in a house with some people and you did your musical for a month and then you went somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like I thought of the kind of very traditional experience that we've kind of seen play out before from all of our, colleagues and peers and people we know who have described it to us. And Blippi, of course, was like a rock concert. It was so different. My Superstar was closer to the more, the more general Broadway National Tour experience.
Sure.
We did primarily 1 week or 2 week sit downs rather than.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we sat down for most of it, which was great. But we would fly to some places. We would ride the bus some places, and then we would sit down for a week and do the show for a week. And yeah, it was. I love touring, which is sometimes controversial yet brave to say, because it's not for everybody. No. And I'm the first person to admit that. Like, it really is not for everybody.
What do you love about it? I'm very curious. I feel like I know, knowing you.
Yeah, I'm a go girl. Like, I love to be on the go. I love to explore. I love to travel. Like, I loved the experience of just being somewhere new every day. My favorite tradition on Superstar was we used to do something called Gay Thursday. Hilarious. So we used to have matinees on Saturday and Sunday because it's touring schedule. You do matinees on the weekend. And Thursday night was like the last night of the week that we could go out. And like party. So almost every week on Thursday night, we would find a local gay or queer establishment in every city that we went to. And we would go as a big group and we would buy drinks and we would buy merch and we would give them our money and our business.
Oh, I love that.
And I have a list of all of those places that we went all over the country. And it was the greatest education in like what queer life looks like across America. Because it's not the same as like the little incubator we have in New York City. Where you can go to Industry and then Hush and then Flaming Saddles all in one night. For some people, that one bar is the only drag show and the only place they can go to like listen to Madonna, watch Drag Race, and meet people. And it was very eye-opening. And we met all sorts of amazing people. And I have all these like hilarious t-shirts from all these bars. Like,
what is your number one, number two in the country?
Oh my gosh, that is so hard. I was like, there's a bar in Texas called Juniors that was amazing. If anyone's watching Drag Race, it was Mistress Isabel Brooks's home bar before she was on the show. Oh. That place was amazing. Like multiple rooms. There was an outside. Like that place was amazing. And there was a place we went to in Philadelphia. I forget the name. I think it was called Mickey's. And when we went upstairs at Mickey's, it was like euphoric. I was like, it was really amazing. And shout out to the Birdcage in Cincinnati, which was open when we were in school. It is still there, and we did get to go there too, which was really fun.
Isn't it fun when you got to go to Cincinnati? I remember.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Did you go to Cincinnati?
Yeah, I did. We went there for the holiday. We were their holiday show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were the Christmas show.
Wow.
I know.
Did
the
you
Easter musical.
I
sure did. Wow. That was really cool.
It was a very cool experience performing at the Arenos.
You did Anastasia there?
Yeah. And I got super sick there.
Really?
Yeah.
Work.
So anyways,
Work.
All that being said, I really want to touch on how you bring your queer identity into your work.
Yeah.
And especially doing a show like Blippi, where I'm assuming you had to sort of strip some of that back. What was that experience like for you? And then you kind of alluded to it with Jesus Christ Superstar, but what is that like when you were finally done with that? And now what is your sort of hope and dreams for what you get to do for the rest of your very long and illustrious career?
That's very sweet. When I first got Blippi, I was really nervous because I have always been out. Like, I came out when I was 13 years old. I'm 27 now. And, you know, it afforded me a lot of privileges when I arrived at CCM, that I had already been out and I had gone through certain things that people were going through when we were in school.
Interesting.
And I remember, if I remember somebody said to me, like, kind of at the end of CCM, like, I felt like I could come here because I saw your showcase, or I saw you exist at CCM. And if I left CCM a better place than I found it, that's what I'm proudest of. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, we don't have to get into all of the CCM of it all, but, you know, we know what it once was. And if it's a better place where people feel as though they can be more authentically themselves in their training, then, like, that's the greatest gift. But when I started Blippi, I was really nervous, and I had a conversation with the team, and I was like, do I need to, like, disappear from the internet? Like, someone's going to Google me, and they're going to see that I'm out, that I'm gay, that I wear makeup. Like, is this going to impact any of this? And shout out to that team. They were like, Diva, no. Like, they're not looking for you.
That's
like,
so wonderful.
It's okay. You know, like, they're going to think you're Steven. Like, we're not going to use your name. They're going to think you're Stephen John. And they really did. I mean, I would be in these meet and greets, and these drunk moms would be like, how's your baby? Like, they really thought I was Steven.
Is Steven the guy that created Blippi?
Yeah, he's the guy that created it.
Oh, interesting.
And,
so you were kind of like Hannah Montana?
No, literally. Like, I felt like Taylor Swift. I remember doing the show once in Vegas, and I came backwards out the curtain and, like, hit the pose for the beginning, and the roar that hit me, time stopped, and it makes me emotional to think about it. And I remember taking, like, a snapshot in my head and being like, remember this moment, because it'll never feel like this again. Like, I felt like Taylor Swift. It was crazy. I felt like Beyonce, Cowboy Carter. Like, it was really something. But I was nervous when it started, and it wasn't until I got to the West End that my name was ever used for the first time in kind of association to Blippi.
Interesting.
I never had any backlash or any weirdness come out of it. When I moved over to Superstar, in this particular version, Herod was presented as, like, a drag adjacent character. So I had, like, Clown White, and I had this crazy eyebrow, and I had this big reveal coat. And at the time I was doing Superstar, there were a lot of laws being passed across the country that were, like, anti-drag bills. They were trying to get rid of drag story hour and stuff like that. And when we were I think we were in Tennessee, the law had just been passed. And they said to me at the time, they were like, so just so you know, what you're about to do today is illegal in this town. You good? And I was like, girl, I hope they arrest me. Get me on playbill.com. Like actor arrested on Jesus Christ Superstar tour. It was a wild time.
Sure.
To be, like, in drag across the country. People used to get up and run out of the theater.
Are you serious?
Yes. Oh my God. Like, we were in Texas, and I did the reveal, and people got up. I could see them all and were running out of the theater. And I remember like reflecting on that and saying to myself, like, you are giving me so much power over your day-to-day life.
Sure.
That I'm not even interested in. And, you know, now kind of post all of that, I went back to Blippi and, like, traveled the world some more, which was crazy.
Yeah, I was going to mention that at the end. Like, you were fully in, like, South Africa.
Oh, yeah. I went to Africa. I went to Dubai.
What was it like to perform it in Dubai?
It was just like it was here.
Really?
Yeah. We did it in this huge arena, and I met, like, the Prince of Dubai's nephew or something.
What?
Well, Blippi did. I should say Blippi met the Prince of Dubai's nephew.
Sure.
And, yeah, even there, I was never scared. Like, I went and I did it in the Philippines.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know, was your experience that kids are kids everywhere?
Yeah.
Wow. That's really special.
Like,
there's something so special about that.
You know, hatred is taught. It's not innate. And the kids in all of these countries all over the world that I performed this show in,
Mm-hmm.
they knew all the words. They sang along. Like
That's
it is,
unreal.
music is a universal language. It is. And dancing is a universal language. Like, I've told this story before, but when we did the show in South Africa, one night we went out with the like local crew. We were like, where do you guys go to like chill out and like hang out?
Right.
And they were like, we go to this like one little block that's kind of it's like we'll drive you. And we were like, okay, great. So this group of us, we like get in this van and we're like, are we out of our mind? And we went, and I've said it before and I say it all the time. I was one person before that night in South Africa, and I am somebody else after.
Wow.
We got to this block, and we went to this bar, and we drank mojitos and played Beyonce on the jukebox, and we were having this great time. And they were like, come with us to this bar down the street. So we go down the street and we go in, and there's live music, and then there was this very famous South African DJ there, and they're playing this music, and it was the dead of summer at the time where we were. And they were dealing with rolling blackouts the whole time. So we're like dancing to this like funky music, and everybody's dancing with everybody. Didn't matter your age, the color of your skin, your sexuality. Everybody danced with everybody. And you don't see that anywhere else in the world. You know, Africa is the birthplace of humanity. And I really felt that there. And the power went out. So we were plunged into darkness. I like immediately sobered up, and I was like, okay, where do we go? The American in me was like, how do we get out of here? And instead, everybody in the bar just started singing the song where it had left off.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, like the world is bigger than the world I grew up in. And it gave me so much perspective and a global worldview. That's the thing I think I'm most grateful for from that whole experience.
Wow.
Singing to children all over the world.
Wow. I'm like, truly, I have chills from that story, because it's just such a gift that you were given with Blippi, and there's not a better person I can think of to receive that gift than you. I'm not trying to hype you up right now, but it's just true. You're so loving and you're so open to so much that for you to have been given that experience, I'm like, no better person in the world, truly.
That's very sweet. I really do think about it every day.
I have a question that I ask everybody that comes on the show.
Sure.
It's, what does success look like to you now? And how has that changed since you, let's say, graduated from CCM?
Yeah. I mean, I really thought when I graduated from CCM that like success looked like booking roles in commercial musicals. Like, I really thought that that's what it was. And, you know, Blippi and Superstar happened to me kind of back to back, which I'm very grateful for. And after that, you know, everything is a little different now. I work a lot now in queer nightlife. I'm a host and an entertainer. I have my own monthly show that I host with special guests. We actually talked about this podcast at my last show.
Are you kidding?
Yes, your guest, Nicholas Kraft, was a guest at my show.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
And we talked about this podcast during my show, because what I love about what you do here is really talk about the unlearning and the unpacking of what it means to be successful. And, you know, we laugh all the time about the character Erich W. Schleck and like who she is. But in a lot of ways, like, I've now gotten to take that power that I learned from Blippi, and I get to perform in New York City all the time. And it may not be on Broadway, but I get to sing to people, and I get to tell jokes, and I get to entertain, and I get to audition, and I get to do this and this and this. And in a lot of ways, that is really what success looks like. Like, success is really what you make of it, because it's supposed to be fun. And when it's not fun anymore, you have a million other choices that you can make. So make that choice. And, you know, I'm sure I'll do another musical. I'm sure, like, I would love to go back on tour. Book me. Like, I would love to be on Broadway, sure. But again, that's 38 opportunities to be successful. And I got tired of kind of like twiddling my thumbs. Like, what? Okay, now what?
Sure.
And I've gotten to create my own work, and I get to invite my friends to come sing with me. And I've met amazing people, and I have been around the globe and back again twice. No one can say that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
all before 30,
all before
you.
30. Like, I've performed in 4 continents. Like, what? Like, that's crazy to think of.
Yeah.
So I think, and I you know, I won't say that it's always easy to remember that. Like, there are days that I get down on myself that I didn't book that thing I got a call back for. Like, there are days that I am upset that I didn't get an audition for this one thing that other people did, and why not me? But that's, you know, that's part of your daily practice.
Sure.
That's part of what we signed up for. And so what's more important is, how do I define, you know, what's important to me? And that's what I've created, what I continue to create, and the relationships that I get to create as a part of that. That's a full life. You know what I mean? That's bigger than standing on zero in a spotlight and hitting a note.
Oh, goodness gracious. I needed to hear that today. Yeah. Thank you. That was so thoughtful and so wonderful. And you know, I'm a big fan. So
stop, I'm obsessed with you.
I'm gonna be here. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on Unlearning. It means a lot to me that you came and did this with me today.
This was so fun. I love what you're doing, and I love the space that you're creating. It's really impactful.
Thank you. Tell everyone where they can find you so they can follow your amazing journey, except for on TikTok. Yeah,
I can't figure out TikTok. I'm sorry. I tried. I can't figure it out. But you can find me on Instagram at Erich Schleck. It's ERICHSCHLECK. You can see what I'm up to primarily on there. I've got some stuff on YouTube. It's just my name, Erich W. Schleck. My website, erichwschleck.com. You can see all of the dates of my upcoming bookings and stuff. I don't know when this is coming out, but
probably next week.
I'll be at the Stonewall Inn for the Tony Awards viewing party.
Oh, how fun!
Which will be really fun. Yeah, I did it last year too.
Oh, that will be exciting.
I got some other bookings in June. My show Musical Mischief will be back. So lots of opportunities to come see the doll and have a good time.
I'm so excited for you. Thank you so much for being on Unlearning.
Thanks for having me. What fun.
And we will see you all next time. Bye. Thank you all so much for listening to my conversation with Erich. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to subscribe, like, rate, review, follow, all of the good things so that I can continue to bring awesome and interesting episodes of Unlearning to you each week. Please be sure to follow me on social media at Veronica Stern on Instagram and at That Mix Chick NYC on TikTok. And we will see you all next time. Bye. Yeah, thank you so much for being so open. It means a lot to me.
Oh my God, yeah. That's the point.